What role do one's philosophical assumptions play in doing historical research, particularly related to the resurrection of Jesus?
I think that one's philosophical presuppositions will be an important guide in doing historical work with respect to the New Testament narratives, because these narratives overtly present a supernatural Jesus, a Jesus who performs miracles, a Jesus who rises from the dead. And if you come to these narratives with a presupposition of scientific naturalism or even methodological naturalism, that is to say that as a historian you will not allow supernatural causes to enter the picture, then these events will be ruled out of court in advance, regardless of the evidence. And I think this is fundamentally the problem with the methodology employed by the infamous Jesus seminar of the Westar Institute in California. In the introduction to their edition of the Five Gospels, they make it very clear that for them the first pillar of scholarly wisdom, as they put it, is scientific naturalism. They point out that Strauss in the last century distinguished between the Christ of faith and the Jesus of history precisely on the criterion of supernaturalism, and that anything that had supernatural aspects to it was by definition relegated to myth rather than history. Now, this is not a matter of argument, it's not a matter of evidence, this is simply a matter of definition. The supernatural is defined as being in the category of mythical, not historical. And if you begin with those sorts of presuppositions, then of course the resurrection will be evaluated as unhistorical because you've defined it to be unhistorical. So when the seminar comes, for example, to the words spoken by the risen Jesus, they state by definition the words ascribed to the risen Christ cannot be historically verified. But they add, sometimes words spoken during Jesus' lifetime are placed on the lips of the risen Jesus, and so they say, we will evaluate these sayings as though they were uttered by a historical person. Well, it couldn't be clearer that they think of the risen Christ as not a historical individual, and that this is done so not on the basis of evidence, but on the basis of presuppositions. So these presuppositions are going to be critical. R.T. France, who is a British New Testament scholar, has remarked that on the level of their literary and historical quality, the Gospels deserve to be taken seriously as sources for a life of Jesus. He says that compared to the sources for ancient history in Greco-Roman times, the Gospels compare very favorably. But he points out that the degree to which one will be ready to trust these documents depends more upon one's openness to a supernatural worldview than it does upon their literary and historical qualities. So I think this is absolutely crucial. And all that I suppose needs to be added here is that philosophically, I see no reason to adopt such a philosophical naturalism. It seems to me that only an atheist could be justified in saying that miracles are impossible, because unless you have some proof of atheism, you have to be open to the possibility that God exists, and if that is even possible, then it's possible that he's acted in history. So in the absence of any proof for atheism, which I don't think anyone has, we have to be open to the possibility of the supernatural and let the evidence speak for itself.